Freedom cannot be full and lasting under nationalism. This is because nationalism is contrary to true principles. Freedom cannot be full and lasting under anything other than the only rational system of law. This system is called hierarchy, which means rule by truth. People are unfit to rule. Nationalism will always fail. Freedom requires true principles, else it will be diminished and fleeting. Truth must be applied, or else consistently favorable conditions like peace and freedom will not be possible. Hierarchy is the only rational system of law that is possible, and all others are irrational. Hierarchy operates on decentralized law, an open system of finding truth, operating through open-source collaboration globally, allowing no law that cannot rationally pass through all checks for one-sidedness, bias, delusion, impartiality, non-transparency, logical fallacy, and such as these which can be demonstrated to be irrational. Competent, informed consent are required under the true principle of self-ownership. This means that taxation is prohibited, as any transfer of wealth must be consensual. Also, no person or group can rationally substantiate their claims of the right to rule, so they would not have the right to rule, and with that, would not have the right to tax. Because self-ownership is a true principle, the initiation of force would be justification for placement of the instigator into securement. This means that any use of force against another, other than defense, would be justification for securement. Threat of force robs people of self-ownership, and is therefore just as much a justification for securement. Thus, the only rational and truth-based system of law that is possible would arrest any who try to tax, and any who threaten penalty for failure to tax. Self-ownership is a true and rational principle, while nationalism is just a tradition born out of primitive ages of tribalism and superstition. Impartiality is a rational principle, as is transparency. These are not upheld by nations, nor is self-ownership. Groups owning the rest of the inhabitants in a given region is not valid or rational concept. Groups do not have any valid right to own and control the rest. They have no special divinity, nor is any perception of favorable mental faculties justification to rob others of their autonomy and free will. Nationalism is an enemy to peace and freedom. It is not true and is not rational. If you are a patriot, you are an enemy to peace and freedom. Instead, be an advocate of truth, a seeker of truth, and disciple of truth. Don't be a patriot. Patriot favors the well-being of those in their own culture, at the expenses of those in other cultures. To contrast this, truth is impartial, and is no respecter of persons or groups. Truth doesn't care where somebody was born, and it is not rational to factor in something so irrelevant as that. Truth doesn't care which culture one has grown accustomed to, because that doesn't matter. Truth only cares about true things. Your perception of the worth of other lives has no bearing on their actual worth. None are superior, but nationalism is a tradition of holding one's own culture as superior. Please be rational.